Democracy. Democracy is a system of government in which power ultimately rests with the people, who rule either directly or through elected representatives. It emphasizes political equality, individual freedoms, and participation in decision-making. Democratic systems rely on free and fair elections, the rule of law, and protection of civil rights. Citizens influence policy through voting, activism, and public debate. Variations include direct, representative, and liberal democracies. Modern examples include India, Germany, Australia, and South Korea, each adapting democratic principles to their unique political traditions. Monarchy. Monarchy is a form of government where power is held by a single ruler, typically a king or queen, whose authority is often hereditary. Monarchies can be absolute, where the ruler has total control, or constitutional, where their powers are limited by law or a governing body. Historically dominant across Europe, Asia, and Africa, monarchies often symbolize national unity and tradition. Today, most monarchies are constitutional, blending ceremony with democracy. Modern examples include the United Kingdom, Japan, Sweden, Spain, Saudi Arabia, and Morocco, each with varying degrees of royal power. Authoritarianism. Authoritarianism is a system of government characterized by strong central power, limited political freedoms, and minimal accountability. Leaders or ruling parties maintain control through censorship, propaganda, and suppression of opposition, often justifying authority through stability, nationalism, or security. Citizens typically have restricted participation in political decision-making, and elections, if held, are heavily controlled. Civil liberties such as free speech and press are limited to preserve government dominance. Modern examples include China, Russia, and Belarus, where power remains concentrated in a single leader or ruling elite. Representative, often called representative democracy, is a system where citizens elect officials to make decisions and pass laws on their behalf. This model balances popular participation with practical governance, allowing large populations to influence policy through chosen representatives. It relies on regular elections, accountability, and the rule of law to ensure leaders serve public interests. Citizens retain the right to remove or replace ineffective leaders through democratic processes. Modern examples include the United States, United Kingdom, Germany, and Canada, all functioning through elected parliaments or congresses. Communism. Communism is a political and economic system aiming for a classless, stateless society where all property is collectively owned and wealth is distributed equally. Based on the ideas of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, it opposes capitalism and seeks to eliminate private ownership of production. In practice, communist governments maintain strong central control to manage resources and enforce equality. Modern examples of communist states include China, Cuba, Laos, and Vietnam, each blending ideology with market or state-driven economies. Parliamentary. A parliamentary system is a form of government where the executive branch derives its legitimacy from and is directly accountable to the legislature or parliament. The head of government, usually a prime minister, is chosen from the majority party or coalition and can be removed by a vote of no confidence. This system encourages collaboration between branches and often separates the head of state from the head of government. Modern examples include the United Kingdom, Canada, India, Australia, and Sweden, where elected parliaments guide executive leadership and national policy. Totalitarianism. Totalitarianism is a political system where the state holds total control over every aspect of public and private life. A single leader or party dominates government, economy, media, and culture, using propaganda, censorship, and surveillance to suppress dissent and shape ideology. Citizens are expected to show absolute loyalty to the regime, often under threat of punishment. Unlike authoritarianism, totalitarianism seeks to control thought as well as behavior. Modern examples include North Korea and Eritrea, where state power permeates nearly all aspects of life. Socialism. Socialism is an economic and political system that advocates for collective or governmental ownership of the means of production, aiming to reduce inequality and provide for the common welfare. It emphasizes cooperation over competition and seeks to balance individual needs with social responsibility. While it allows varying degrees of private enterprise, resources are often distributed according to need rather than profit. Socialist governments typically fund universal services such as healthcare and education. Modern examples include Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, which blend social welfare with democratic governance and market economies. Autocracy. Autocracy is a form of government in which absolute power is concentrated in the hands of a single ruler whose decisions are not subject to legal or popular constraints. The leader exercises complete control over political, military, and often economic affairs, typically maintaining authority through coercion, loyalty, or propaganda. Public participation in governance is minimal or non-existent, Autocracies can take the form of monarchies or dictatorships, depending on succession and legitimacy. Modern examples include Saudi Arabia, Turkmenistan, and Equatorial Guinea, where one leader dominates political life. Constitutional. A constitutional government is one in which political authority is defined and limited by a formal constitution, ensuring that leaders operate within established legal boundaries. This framework outlines the separation of powers, citizens' rights, and the procedures for governance. Constitutional systems aim to prevent tyranny by balancing authority across branches of government. They can coexist with monarchies or republics, depending on whether a monarch or elected officials serve as head of state. Modern examples include the United States, United Kingdom, Japan, and Sweden, all guided by constitutional law. Theocracy. A theocracy is a form of government ruled by religious leaders or guided by divine authority, where laws are based on religious doctrine rather than secular legislation. In such systems, political power is justified through faith, and leaders are often clergy or seen as representatives of a deity. Theocracies prioritize moral and spiritual values as the foundation of governance, often blending church and state. Modern examples include Iran, governed under Islamic law, and Vatican City, ruled by the Pope as both spiritual and political leader. Republic. A republic is a form of government where the state is considered a public matter, and leaders are chosen by citizens or their representatives rather than inheriting power. Authority is derived from the people, and the government operates under the rule of law, often guided by a constitution. Republics emphasize accountability, civic participation, and protection of individual rights. They can be presidential, parliamentary, or federal in structure. Modern examples include the United States, France, India, and Brazil, all governed by elected officials accountable to the public. Dictatorship. A dictatorship is a form of government in which a single leader or small group holds absolute power, often gained and maintained through force, coercion, or manipulation. Civil liberties and political opposition are typically suppressed, and authority is concentrated in one central figure who governs without checks or balances. Dictators often claim to act for stability or national security while controlling media, military, and institutions. Modern examples include North Korea, Eritrea, and Belarus, where rulers exercise long-term power with limited or no democratic oversight. Anarchism. Anarchism is a political philosophy that rejects all forms of involuntary government and hierarchical authority, advocating for a society organized through voluntary cooperation and mutual aid. It envisions communities managing themselves without centralized power, emphasizing personal freedom, equality, and collective responsibility. Anarchists oppose coercive institutions like the state, capitalism, and organized religion, viewing them as sources of oppression. Instead, they promote decentralized decision-making and local autonomy. Modern examples of anarchist principles appear in autonomous zones, worker cooperatives, and movements such as Zapatista communities in Mexico and Rojava in Syria. Technocracy. Technocracy is a system of governance where decision-making power is held by experts, scientists, or technical specialists, rather than politicians or elected representatives. It prioritizes efficiency, data, and rational planning over ideology or popular opinion. Technocrats focus on evidence-based policies to solve social and economic problems through expertise and innovation. While rarely existing in pure form, elements of technocracy appear in modern bureaucracies and international institutions. Examples include Singapore's merit-based government, the European Union's administrative bodies, and China's technocratic leadership, which emphasizes scientific and engineering expertise in policymaking.